Jamaica's crime rate continues to trend downward in 2025, following a 19% drop in murders in 2024, the lowest in more than 2 decades. The country has maintained the momentum, and May 2025, we saw only 1 murder in St. James. Once labeled a murder capital, it only recorded 1. And that is signaling a dramatic shift in the nation's security trajectory. And we explore the implications tonight in Lead Story. Good evening and welcome. You are watching Lead Story. I am Sondre Roden. Now, as I began telling you at the top of the program, soon after reports of the dramatic decline in major crimes, international recognition followed. On May 29, 2025, the United States upgraded Jamaica's travel advisory from level 3 to level 2, a move that is widely seen as a vote of confidence in the government's crime-fighting strategy. As the statistics improve, so too does the political narrative. The government is, of course, trying to seize the moment, pointing to the decline in crime as a proof of effective leadership, national progress, and so on. But the opposition, they're pushing back, arguing that beneath the surface, key issues remain unsolved, from youth unemployment to the root causes of violence. The question now isn't whether crime is down, it's how the shifting security landscape will shape political fortunes on both sides of the aisle. Join us now to share their views on the implications for national security, as well as the impact on perceptions ahead of the well-anticipated 2025 general elections, are Jermaine Barrett, President and CEO of Jamaica Association for Debating and Empowerment, Jade Limited, and political commentator Roger Bent. Welcome to you both.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Hey, Jermaine.
Hi, Roger. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good.
All right, I'm going to start with you, Jermaine, and I want to ask you squarely, fairly, how much credit should the current administration take for the decline in the crime figures, especially in an area like St. James?
I think a lot of credit is deserving to be placed on the administration. We have seen unprecedented levels of investment in technologies, in intelligence, in capacity overall, and we're reaping the rewards of those particularly strategic investments. And I think, irrespective of your political stripes, you must give credit where credit is due, and certainly credit is due to the Andrew Holness-led administration. So
do you think, Roger, that this credit is deserved by the government to take credit for this decline that we've seen, not just in the entire crime rate, but the murder rate over the past year, and now the murder rate is trending even more so down than what was seen last year?
Okay, so Sandra, let me begin by saying that I believe that a change in behavior is not something that is overnight. It's not something that happens within a year. It may have very well been the contribution of successive administrations that may actually have culminated in this moment. But that said, we also have to give credit to the fact that the current ruling party, the JLP, would have, for the most part, put in a significant amount of investment, and they would have also taken the brunt of criticism. Several times they've been, mocked as it relates to the fact that promises were made about you could go to bed with your doors and your windows open, and that is not happening. So against that backdrop, to have seen such a significant reduction in crime at this point, I think, yes, they will get that kind of credit. The government will get that kind of credit, and it should take the credit.
On that point of sleeping with windows and doors open, on Sunday evening, the Prime Minister presented in St. James, which is where, that statement about 1 murder in the month of May was made. He also said that he is aspirational, Roger, and that he still stands by the statement that Jamaicans can sleep with their windows and doors open. What do you say in a political year about a statement like that from the Prime Minister, and what do you see coming from him when he makes that statement?
Well, as a leader, that's certainly a very bold statement to make. It's also a show of confidence in the systems he's put in place, in the security mechanisms. And I think, likewise, irrespective of whether or not Jamaicans over the past couple of years would have believed that, with the current trajectory going down and his declaration in that kind of way, there is a kind of association of trust that people are now going to take from him as leader, especially going into this critical period of election.
So the next point you want to go on is the sustainability of the changes we've seen. Do these numbers, Jermaine, do they represent sustainable change, or is it a temporary dip? Now, we're going to pick that up right after the break. We'll be back with you. It's still Lead Story.
Every child deserves a home filled with love. When hope meets heart, a new journey begins.
Welcome home, David.
Welcome, David.
Make it your own.
Family is built on moments shared.
Go, David, yes!
Every smile and every shared moment connects us with a brighter future. Here, you're not just welcomed, you're family. Foster hope, foster love, foster a child today. Contact the CPFSA for more information.
Everybody, I'm Yendi, and this is Odyssey with Yendi. In this space, we connect with some of your favorite people as they share their journeys. Here we have some unfiltered conversations as we deep dive into their inspirations, motivations, and experiences to inspire our own life journey.
We're back with you. It's Lead Story. Of course, we're talking about the crime and murder rate decline and its impact overall on voters, particularly in an election year. 2025, September 2025 is the date that a lot of persons are looking at when it comes on to elections. So joining me, of course, our guests, Roger Ben, political commentator, and Jermaine Barrett, the CEO of Jade Limited. And we're talking about the impacts of this murder rate on both sides of the aisle, what the impacts are for political fortunes, and what do we expect to see when persons continually see these numbers trending down. So I was going into this question to Jermaine, asking him if the numbers that we're seeing, particularly that number in St. James saying only one murder in the month of May, which is a significant decline, is this sustainable change, Jermaine, or are we just seeing temporary dips here and there driven by short-term enforcement strategies?
You know, Sandre, no one can forecast the future with any absolute certainty.
Yeah.
But I believe that the kinds of efforts that have been demonstrated over the last several years towards bringing the crime numbers down, as we're experiencing now, are measures that are sustainable to the extent that these are the kinds of arrangements that have been necessary for several years now for us to effectively fight crime. Yes, no, we just experienced a month where there was just one homicide in St. James. Next month, it might be a little more, it might be a little less, but I think the aim that we're pursuing is for the crime numbers to be significant. Let's appreciate a little bit of a context. The Caribbean and Latin American region is the most murderous part of the world, quite frankly. 24 out of every 100,000 citizens are killed in this region. Even with the numbers as appreciable as they are right now in Jamaica, our numbers are significantly higher than that regional average, much less a global average of I think, something in the region of 16 or so per 100,000. So we still have a ways to go. But we have to celebrate the major successes that we're experiencing right now. That for the first time in as long as I can remember, the crime numbers are projected to be somewhere in the region of 700 persons being killed within a particular year. That is significant. Is it sustainable? I hope it is. But we know the things are volatile, and any kind of major upheaval to a particular social condition or an economic condition could see the numbers trending upwards again. The final point I'll make is we have to appreciate that crime there's an ecosystem that sustains crime.
Right.
Unemployment, poverty, all of those things are contributors to crime, and all of those indicators are also trending in the right direction. So I'm satisfied that we're doing what is necessary to keep the numbers going down in the way that we want them to go.
Over to you, Roger. Dominican Republic, Costa Rica are two of the numerous countries that are in level 2. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the U.S. upgrading the travel advisory for Jamaica from level 3 to level 2. What impact, Roger, does this have on the public? What impact does this have on investor confidence, and particularly in Jamaica's security apparatus?
Well, certainly it's going to have a huge impact on our global reputation. The fact that the risk level would have now fallen, it would mean, therefore, that at least investor confidence would have been up, but also tourism would have also been affected. And I think that's a huge win, I think, on that side as well. Also, as it relates to the overall confidence of people within the country, within the business sector in Jamaica, that is also going to be affected positively as well. And certainly, I think that there is going to be a plus sign in the column of the police force or the security forces, in the fact that somehow they have gotten it right, or they are on the road to getting it right. So I think there are some pluses, positives that will come from this kind of drastic decline.
So on that point, Roger, can the government use this momentum to pivot the national discourse towards further reforms, economic and social otherwise, to say we are now seeing the fruits of our labor as it relates to crime reduction, so let's transform the economy even more so that we can further reduce crime?
If they are smart, now is the time, I would think, to begin to have that kind of agitation, right? I think the moment is ripe. The data now is proving to be such. I think now is the time for them to actually double down and begin advocacy around that kind of reformation. I think the opposition is going to play smart and is going to also point out some of those other underlying issues that can contribute to crime, and and quite possibly we're going to be hearing them constantly pointing out to the fact that these are ignored and not touched. But it is the responsibility of the government now, with the momentum it has, to ensure that it continues and to push for the kind of change that it needs to see.
Jermaine, on a point of the opposition, is the opposition now at a disadvantage politically because of the declining crime rate? Traditionally, this has been one of the major talking points when there's an opposition. You know, we had the opposition back in 2014, 2015, which would be the now government. They spoke about the crime rate, came in, and that was where the grandiose promise of, sleeping with windows and doors open would have come from. Do you think the current opposition now has, a huge roadblock when it comes on to the conversations around crime and solving crime and the numbers?
Sandra, I've been talking of late to my comrade friends who are not particularly pleased at the chances of the PNP this election cycle, given the downward trend, the significant downward trend in crime and the homicide numbers.
Yeah.
And because many of them I consider to be committed more to the positive, to the favorable outcome for their political party, more so than Jamaica Incorporated. Yes?
Yeah.
And that is unfortunate. Now, is it something that is going to be, celebrated by people within the People's National Party? I think if it is that they mean Jamaica well, irrespective of the administration that has secured these successes, it's something that we all should be celebrating. Yes, but you will have those partisans committed desperately to the success of their political party. For them, it will not be a point of jubilation.
Coming over to you, Roger, on that very point.
Andre, I'm just going to jump right
No,
in.
but I want to ask you on the premise of what former Minister of National Security, the famed Peter Bunting, Senator Peter Bunting, he would have said recently that the government should not or cannot take credit for the reduction in crime. He said that. So what do you have to say on that as well, Roger?
I don't know the context in which he would have said it, but I also think there's a space for the opposition party, the PNP, to take credit. The role of the opposition would have been to agitate through the issues that happened with Zozo and state of emergencies. They created that balance. They created that friction and that space in which both parties were able to move and operate and to create the effectiveness, the effective security mechanisms we are seeing now. It's not just the JLP's win, it's also the PNP's win. And so I think that they also have a right to take credit for it as well. It's not 100% JLP or PNP. It's after all a government where both sides sit and both sides advocate for what we are having today. And we can't forget that.
All right, so hold it there, Roger. Hold it there, Jermaine. We're going to go for a break. You're still here with Lead Story. We'll be back with more.
Meets tradition. Agriculture is evolving like never before. From the latest sustainable farming technologies to age-old practices passed down through generation, agriculture is
precious to me.
I love the animals. I don't mind getting my hands dirty. I love working.
Join us right here on CVM TV every Sunday during news at 7 as we explore the people, the science, and the breakthroughs that are shaping the way we grow, eat, and live. You don't want to miss it. This is Farming Forward.
Hey everybody, I'm Yendi, and this is Odyssey with Yendi. In this space, we connect with some of your favorite people as they share their journeys. Here we have some unfiltered conversations as we deep dive into their inspirations, motivations, and experiences to inspire our own life journey.
Rise with sunrise to mighty steps into June. We begin with a little fire in Wednesday service, then it's off to Sunrise Book Club for some summer reads. From the shelves to the shores, we're talking World Oceans Day, and we'll wrap your morning with WAGs, brought to you by TruePet. Why Not Wednesdays, powered by Flow. You've never seen a sunrise quite like this.
And if you're just joining us, we're here on Lead Story. We are talking about the declining crime rate, the impact it's having on voters, the perception overall of the ruling party and the opposing party, JLP and PNP, simultaneously. I have with me Roger Bent, political commentator, and Jermaine Barrett, the CEO of Jamaica Association for Debating and Empowerment, JADE Limited. Now, I want to channel a little bit into messaging, Roger. I want to start with you, and then I'm going to go to Jermaine around this topic of messaging. When it comes on to crime, the crime rate, the impact of crime on the community, what would you say is your assessment of the ruling Jamaica Labour Party and the opposition People's National Party? How do you assess them both as it relates to their crime messaging?
Well, I think certainly we would have seen over the past couple of years at least from Minister Horace Chang, he would have spoken even during the heat of the crime wave. He spoke about a confidence in a system he was building up. And he repeatedly said, and at that point I had concerns as a citizen about what was happening, because it didn't seem as if the powers that be were knowledgeable enough or in control. But he stood steady and said that he had faith in the system, that the system in over time would have borne fruit. And it would appear at this point that it is so. And I also think that the stance of the opposition party of having to champion human rights and to say to us that as much as we are going to use at some point draconian mechanisms, we had to temper the line, we had to follow the law, we had to observe rules and regulations. I think that was important for them to do as well. So I think they played their part in terms of that kind of messaging. It wasn't for them in the opposition to articulate any clear kind of strategy, but they were watchdogs to the system. And I think they did that very well.
So if you could rate them out of 10, Roger, government, opposition, what would you say out of 10 were their messaging ratings?
What 100? I can't give a grade. I'm going to abstain from grading. It's loading. Grading to come.
As a lecturer, Roger, I would have expected a grading from you, but I'm going to go over to Jermaine, and I'm going to ask Jermaine the same question about political messaging. We've seen the government's messaging, the opposition's messaging. What's your assessment of the messaging from both parties?
I want to take our minds back to a point in time several months ago, maybe a year or so ago, when the conversation was intense surrounding states of emergencies. And I remember that cataclysmic, epic sitting of the Senate where the government needed just one vote from the opposition in order to reimpose a state of emergency. And after vigorous, intense, aggressive debates, that vote was not had, and the government lost. Yes? And the administration went on an aggressive push to communicate to the Jamaican people, tapping into, I think, the pulse of Jamaicans at large, who felt like states of emergencies was a necessary sort of intervention, given the unsustainably high levels of crime and violence. And I think that was, generally speaking, all the polls indicated that Jamaicans were by and large in favor of states of emergencies. I think the opposition did what a responsible opposition needed to do, which is to stand by its conviction that despite the sort of tangible benefits in terms of suppressing crime in the instant, it is what they consider to be an egregious violation of human rights. But that conversation, and talking about the messaging, that conversation, I don't know, has landed as firmly in the minds and the hearts of Jamaicans relative to the message of the Jamaica Labour Party, which is to say, listen, we are concerned about the trauma and the tragedy and the horrors that you're experiencing. We have this mechanism that is proven to be effective, and here it is that the opposition is being, sort of standing in the way in us implementing that measure. I think that the net result of that kind of a pulling and pushing is that Jamaicans, with the evidence put before them now, and the government now able to say, listen, we wanted to do it. We found a way around it by reimposing every single instant and not necessarily going back to the parliament to seek the parliamentary permission to have it extended. Yeah. That has led to a large reduction in the crime numbers as we're experiencing right now. I think it is going to be a net benefit for the Jamaica Labour Party.
I want to go to Roger on this point of the impact of the numbers, because if you're a political analyst, you know that the numbers matter. Number of numbers matter. When we talk about the decline in the crime rate, when we talk about the cost of living, when we talk about education and passes in our system, whether it's high school, whether it's PEP, those things matter. But do you think that the crime rate will matter greatly in a 2025 general election in comparison to, inflation, in comparison to cost of living, in comparison to all the other things that people have been looking at to say, this is the party that I would want to lead Jamaica into the next 5 years?
Sandra, one of the greatest concerns, and this has been successive administrations, one of the greatest concerns would have been the matter of crime in Jamaica. And it would have appear that successive administrations would have been unable to build the gap. It's been in the minds of Jamaicans, it's been in the minds of the diaspora. And so I think that this carries significant weight. This perceived decrease in crimes and in murder is going to affect the perception. It's also going to give political goodwill and mileage to the Jamaica Labour Party, of course. So numbers matter, and this is a significant number.
So, Jermaine, I'm going over to you for policy recommendations. What do you propose the government should look at now, looking at the decline in the crime rate? How do you bolster that through policy? What recommendations would you have for the government? Do we still have Jermaine? If not Jermaine, I'm going to throw it to you, Roger, right away.
Yes. Could you repeat that question?
Yeah, I'm asking what policy recommendations would you have for the government after we see the reducing crime rates? What else can they do? What are the next steps to ensure that this is not just a one-off reduction this year, but it's sustained and it keeps going down for the years to come?
I think they now have to work now on the social aspect of crime. We've seen their ability at this point to effect change in